Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. As always, thanks so much for clicking on this video and joining me. We're going to be doing the Captain America Brave New World review. Just got back from seeing the movie and I have a lot of thoughts to go through in the review of this movie. So, what happens when you take half a Captain America movie and half a Hulk movie and you smash them together? Well, you get Captain America Brave New World. A film that feels like two different movies awkwardly sharing the screen at the same time. Was it a brave new direction for the MCU or just a messy experiment? Let's get into it. So, just some quick thoughts before we get going. The movie, after months of waiting, is finally here. But is it the next Winter Soldier or just another forgettable MCU entry? After watching it, I can confidently say it's pretty complicated, but let's try and break it down. But also, I have a feeling that after Brave New World drops on digital, fans are going to be editing this movie into a Hulk sequel movie. And honestly, I wouldn't blame them. Today we're diving into why this film feels like two stories awkwardly crammed together and whether it actually works. So, now stepping into the meat of this review, the latest entry for the MCU has had a lot of expectations riding on it, with Sam Wilson stepping fully into the Captain America mantle and the return of some big Marvel characters. You'd think this would be a home run, right? Well, not exactly. So, one of the biggest issues with Brave New World is that it feels like two completely different movies awkwardly mashed into one. And it's almost as if Marvel had ideas for both a Captain America movie and a Hulk sequel, but couldn't fully commit to either. So they just combined them into a single film. And honestly, you could probably re-edit this movie and make it into a Hulk 2 film with minimal changes. The balance is off. You've got Sam Wilson trying to cement himself as the new Captain America, but the film constantly shifts gears to focus on the Incredible Hulk legacy, with Samuel Stearns playing the leader, and of course the much hyped debut of the Red Hulk. It's jarring and makes the film feel less like a Captain America solo outing and more like a weird Avengers-like crossover. So, let's talk about the action in the movie. I feel that the action doesn't quite hit hard enough. Now don't get me wrong, there are some cool action scenes, but I can't help but feel like we've seen better action sequences in better movies. The film does a decent job of showing Sam's unique combat style, but at the same time, nothing truly stands out. And when you think back to Winter Soldier era action choreography, this one just doesn't hold up in comparison. Up next, let's talk about the villains of the movie. So, Samuel Stearns, aka the leader. He could have been set up as a major future threat in the MCU, but instead he comes off as underwhelming and far from intimidating. There was an opportunity here to create a long-term cerebral villain who manipulates events from the shadows, but the execution just wasn't there. And speaking of wasted potential, Giancarlo Esposito's role in this movie is borderline criminal. He has one cool action scene, ultimately gets knocked out too quickly, and he is never seen again. Why did Marvel cast an actor of this caliber if they were barely going to use him? I feel that one of the biggest missed opportunities in Captain America Brave New World was showcasing Sam Wilson's role as a true symbol of hope. A defining moment for any Captain America should be earning the trust of the public through acts of heroism, but the film never really gives us that moment. We see Sam fighting villains, engaging in high-stakes battles, and dealing with government politics, but we don't get a scene of him actively saving civilians in a way that reinforces why he deserves the mantle. Imagine a sequence, if you will, where Sam, mid-battle, has to make a tough choice. Pursue the villain or stop to help a collapsing bridge full of innocent people. A moment like that would have not only cemented his leadership and moral compass, but also helped establish the world's acceptance of him as the new Captain America. Instead, the film rushes through its plot without ever really pausing to show that connection between the hero and everyday citizens. This is something the Winter Soldier did exceptionally well, with Steve Rogers, making him feel like a grounded hero first and a soldier second. By leaving out these smaller yet essential moments, the movie fails to give Sam Wilson the definitive Captain America moment he truly deserved. And that's a shame because Anthony Mackie is more than capable of delivering it. This brings us to the trope and the MacGuffin of the movie, mind control. The movie leans into a tired plot device, mind control. It's been done so many times in so many different movies, and this version doesn't bring anything new to the table. It feels like lazy writing when there could have been a much more compelling way to induce conflict within the movie. Moving on to Harrison Ford's role within the movie. So Harrison Ford shines as Thunderbolt Ross. So one of the biggest film strengths is Harrison Ford as the President Thunderbolt Ross. His on-screen presence is undeniable, and his interactions with Anthony Mackie are some of the highlights of the movie. He brings the gravitas you'd expect from someone like Ross, and every scene he's in just feels better because of his mere presence. Another missed opportunity was the reunion between Betty Ross and her father, President Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. Given that this is the first time we've seen Betty in the MCU since The Incredible Hulk that debuted in 2008. Her return should have carried far emotional weight. Instead, their reunion is shockingly brief, lasting mere seconds without any real tension, closure, or meaningful dialogue between them. With Harrison Ford taking over the role of Ross, this could have been a powerful moment, offering depth to his character and showing a more personal side of the president. Instead, it feels like a checkbox moment the film rushes past, missing a chance to add much needed emotional depth to the story. Let's talk about the Isaiah Bradley character. One of the more puzzling creative choices in Captain America Brave New World was the inclusion of Isaiah Bradley. While his character was a powerful and emotional presence in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, his role in the film felt more like a distraction than a meaningful continuation of his story. Instead of adding depth to Sam's journey as Captain America, Isaiah's scenes often pulled focus away from the main narrative, rehashing familiar themes from the Disney Plus series rather than pushing Sam forward into fresh and compelling narratives. His presence could have been used to reinforce Sam's personal growth or provide a pivotal moment of wisdom, but instead it felt like an unnecessary detour that slowed the film down. In a movie already struggling with its identity, this only made things feel more disjointed. So, talking about the new Falcon and Sam's leadership as the new Captain America. Joaquin Torres as the new Falcon does his best, but I can't help but feel that Sam Wilson would have been better off commanding a full squad or a small team instead of just having a single sidekick. It would have really reinforced his leadership skills and made his transition into the Captain America role feel more complete if he was commanding troops rather than having a single sidekick. The adamantium tease within the movie was cool, but could have been easily missed. So the movie does introduce a pretty important element for the future of the MCU, which is adamantium. It's a solid setup for Wolverine and connective tissue to the X-Men, but the way that it was handled is so subtle that casual fans might have completely missed it. It's one of those things that's great for hardcore fans, but might not land well with general audiences who aren't familiar with Wolverine's backstory. So, moving on to the questionable CGI and visuals. Marvel has been struggling with CGI lately, and Brave New World is no exception. Some of the aerial flight scenes, warships, and landscapes look like they were pulled straight out of a movie from 10 years ago. This is frustrating for fans because we've seen what Marvel can do with great visual effects, but here, it just feels like corners were cut. So, on a positive note, we do get to see the raft, the super prison from Civil War, which was a cool callback. But let's talk about the real highlight, the Red Hulk. When the Red Hulk finally shows up, the movie fires on all cylinders. Those brief few minutes of action are some of the best in the entire film, and his fight with Captain America is pretty thrilling. The problem is only 5 minutes long. It's an awesome moment, but doesn't last long enough or carry enough emotional weight for the movie. Moving on to my final thoughts for Captain America Brave New World. So Anthony Mackie is great as Captain America. He has the presence, the charisma, and the potential to truly make the role his own. He steps into the suit with confidence, bringing his signature charm and determination to the character. But despite his best efforts, Captain America Brave New World doesn't give him the grand, defining story he deserves. This should have been his Winter Soldier moment, his chance to solidify himself in the eyes of the audience as the new Captain America. Instead, he's stuck in a film that doesn't fully know what it wants to be. The movie feels torn between being a Captain America sequel and a Hulk follow-up, never fully committing to either. The end result is a story that lacks focus, a villain that lacks presence, and action sequences that, while decent, don't leave a lasting impact. The film flirts with intriguing ideas, like the introduction of adamantium and the return of the Incredible Hulk's Samuel Stearns, but it never quite capitalizes on them in a satisfying way. And that's what makes Brave New World so frustrating. It's not a bad movie, but it's an underwhelming one. There are moments of greatness, Harrison Ford's scene-stealing performance as President Ross, Red Hulk's explosive but brief appearance, and Sam Wilson's undeniable screen presence. But these highlights are buried beneath a story that feels disjointed, a villain that never quite lands, and CGI that looks shockingly outdated for a modern MCU film. This should have been a triumphant passing of the torch, a movie that truly cemented Sam Wilson as Captain America in the minds of audiences. Instead, it feels like a stepping stone, a setup for something bigger down the line, when it should have been his moment to shine. My final verdict for this movie is a 6 out of 10. Watch it for the Red Hulk fight, Harrison Ford's performance, and Anthony Mackie's take on Captain America. But skip this movie if you're expecting a top tier Marvel film with a strong, cohesive story. So what did you think of Captain America Brave New World? Did it work for you, or were you as underwhelmed as I was? Let me know down in the comment section, and if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like and subscribe for more breakdowns, reviews, and all things superhero cinema here on Reviewflex. Thank you so much for joining me, guys, and I will see you in the next video.